Consumer surplus measures the difference between what a consumer was willing to pay and what they had to pay. Producer surplus measures how the difference between what a producer earned in the market and what it costs to make it. The consumer's willingness to pay is shown by the height of the demand curve. P1, the price in the market, is what the consumer had to pay to purchase that product. Consumers will continue to buy until marginal benefit equal to marginal cost, in this case at 10. The total willingness of the consumers to purchase 10 units is given by the red trapezoid. The total cost of consuming that many units is given by this rectangle, so that the difference between what they were willing to pay and what they had to pay is given by this triangle, i.e. the consumer surplus at price P1. We can use these concepts to consider the changes in consumer surplus. Recall that the red triangle is the consumer surplus at the original price. If the price falls to P2, there's an analogous consumer surplus given in this case by the yellow triangle. This is constructed in exactly the same way as the earlier consumer surplus. The change in consumer surplus is then given by the shaded region. In the case of a price fall, it would be a gain in consumer surplus. For a producer surplus, we consider that the height of the supply curve is the marginal cost of producing the first unit, while the market price is the marginal benefit of selling that first unit. At price P1, producers will produce 10 units with a total variable cost given by the red area. The total revenue associated with that production is this area, the price times the quantity. The difference between the total revenue and the total variable cost is the producer surplus. We can see how producers are affected by a price change by considering changes in producer surplus. Original producer surplus is given by the red area. If the price falls to P2, supply falls and producer surplus will fall as well, now given by the yellow area. The fall in producer surplus associated with the lower price is given by this shaded area. This is when the price falls and quantity produced falls. We can use these concepts to analyze the impact of imports. Suppose the product is now available on the domestic market at the world price. The new competition from the world market drives the domestic price downward. Domestic firms respond by reducing production, in this case to Q1, and domestic consumers increase their consumption because of the lower price to Q2. Applying our earlier results, consumers gain consumer surplus equal to this blue area. Domestic producers are hurt by the increased competition and lower price. In this case, the loss of producer surplus is given by the red hatched area. Imports cause a reduction in domestic production from Q0 to Q1 and an increase of domestic consumption from Q0 to Q2. We can analyze these changes further. Domestic production of Q0 to Q1 would have cost this trapezoidal area, but the cost of purchasing it from foreigners is less. That results in a net benefit of this triangular area from reduction in domestic production. Domestic consumers' gross benefit from the increased consumption is given by the trapezoid, but it only costs them the world price to purchase it. That results in a net benefit from increased consumption given by this triangle. We can do a similar analysis for exports. If the world price is higher, domestic production will rise as a consequence of the higher price available on the world market, and domestic consumption will fall as a consequence of the increased competition from foreign consumers who are willing to pay a higher price for these products. The resulting increase in domestic price has effects on producer and consumer surplus. Higher prices result in an increase in producer surplus given by this area. Domestic consumers, on the other hand, are hurt by the higher prices. The effects on consumer surplus are given by the blue area. Trade, once again, results in net benefits because the gains to producers outweigh the losses to consumers in this case. Let us look at these effects more deeply. Domestic firms earn the revenue indicated by this rectangle by selling Q0 to Q3 exports abroad. Domestic consumers valued this by the area given by this trapezoid. That means that the net benefit from reducing domestic consumption is given by this triangle. Increased domestic production gives revenue equal to this yellow rectangle. This increased production cost this trapezoidal area, resulting in a net benefit from increasing production and selling the balance on the world market.